Hello, everyone, and welcome back for another episode of the Outdoor Adventure Series podcast, where we celebrate individuals and families, businesses, and organizations that seek out and promote the exploration, stewardship, conservation, access, and enjoyment of the outdoors. Gulf Shores and Orange Beach Tourism is the sponsor of our episode today. Warm temps and fresh seafood make the Alabama Gulf Coast the perfect beach destination for your family vacation, couples getaway, outdoor adventure, meetings, conferences, and conventions. Mark Berte, Executive Director at the Alabama Coastal Foundation, is our guest today on the podcast. Mark has served as the Alabama Coastal Foundation's Executive Director since 2011, and we're going to learn how he was drawn to the foundation through its vital mission of protecting the Alabama coast through cooperation, education, and participation. Mark, it is a pleasure to have you on the Outdoor Adventure Series podcast. Welcome.
Thank you so much. It is truly an honor to be with y'all.
Well, I thank you for that. And I really totally appreciate Gulf Shores and Orange Beach Tourism, especially Easton Colvin, for helping to set these interviews up. And this to you as an executive director, I know how busy you folks are, and really appreciate you taking time out of your busy day. And let's get right into this. I mean, tell us a little bit about the Alabama Coastal Foundation. How did it start, and what got you kind of pinpointed, like, this is an organization I think I'd like to become a part of?
Absolutely. Well, it actually, we're celebrating our 30th anniversary this year. 30 years ago, people were getting together and they said, hey, there's not really a group out there in coastal Alabama that is focusing on bringing people together, whether that's individuals, whether that's from the private sector or the governmental sector, and try to address different issues. So the founding board members said, hey, Chesapeake Bay Foundation is doing a really good job. So we basically modeled our organization off of what the great work they were doing up in that part of the country. And ACF was formed. And I was actually 11 years ago when I was applying for the job, my predecessor, I even asked her, I said, should I even apply for this? Because I don't have the science background. She's like, Mark, they're looking for somebody just like you, which I didn't realize she was being sincere about that. They were looking for somebody who has the nonprofit management side of things and to can ask very simple questions of staff and board members so that when I'm out talking in the public, I could say, yes, I can answer that question only because I know I've learned it from one of my staff members.
Fantastic. Now, 30th anniversary, that is quite a milestone. 30 years is a long time, but at some point, what caused this need for this foundation? Were things just kind of out of hand, people doing whatever they wanted? What was the
Well,
reasoning behind this?
and so our logo is the osprey. And as you know from Rachel Carlson, the scientist who did the study about DDT effects, the Silent Spring was her book written, and it was a game changer for people around the world. But several people here in Alabama said, yes, we back in the 50s and 60s were using that substance to treat it as fertilizer. And then when the Rachel Carlson and other scientists said, hey, these osprey that used to be making so much beautiful noise during nesting season, it was silent. And it was because they figured that the osprey were basically eating the fish that were eating the DDT that was run off from the farmlands. And so we, the people, we, the humans, created the problem, but we were also part of the solution. So that's what we said. There are enough issues out here, so let's try to get together and try to figure out what we can do in a nonpartisan lens. And can I tell you how most important it is today, today's world, to say we actually do have different things that conservative and progressive people can agree on. And it's the reason once you visit here, by the way, Howard, I don't think you'll want to go back. It is a really beautiful part of the world. I've lived in Austin, Texas, and Seattle and other places, and just good parts of the country. But Alabama really does have something very special and some pretty good food to boot. So,
and it's funny as we're chatting, I'm thinking, gee, I wonder if he can recommend a real estate broker, but we'll talk about that later. And of course, the food. I mean, this I am so excited to get down there, not only for the scenery, because as a photographer, as a member of the Outdoor Writers Association of America, which we'll talk a little bit about in a minute, but the nature, the open spaces, fresh air. I mean, it's a wonderful place, and I kicked myself in the butt 30 some years ago when I didn't head down there. But I do also recognize, and you brought up the politics. I was going to kind of bring it in just a little bit because the solutions and the issues that an organization like the Alabama Coastal Foundation are working on, these require bipartisan commitments and agreements and working together. And I wish that model would extend out to a lot of other things. And so I appreciate you bringing that up. So thank you. If we could circle back just a little bit, one, you don't have the full accent that I was expecting. So where did you grow up, and what was kind of real briefly your career trajectory that led you into the foundation?
So I grew up in north part of the state, so I still should have a good y'all in me every now and then. I think you missed it when I said welcome everybody, but I'm sure your listeners did pick it up pretty quickly.
Okay.
So I lived in the north part of Alabama, which really Alabama has five different systems areas that it's almost mimics the country in terms of coastline and wiregrass, and we have mountains, so not as large as other ones, but my love of the environment was when I went to church camp at Camp Sumatonga,
Okay.
and north in Gallup, Alabama, at the foothill of or at the foot of Chandler Mountain. But as a matter of fact, when you drive into the campground, there's a sign that says, "Let no one say and say to your shame that this was a place of beauty before you came." And so the camp director, Dinah Reeves, who had been there for 48 years, saw me picking up trash around the Chicker Bowl. There you go. I could talk Southern right now, but
There you go.
and so she basically asked if I would be willing to run for the mid-high trash representative. I was like, I don't know what that is, but then I had two trash representatives. I'm sure. And from that point forward, I really did just the outdoors, and there was a beautiful lake there and different trails to hike. And that's kind of where I fell in love with the outdoors.
Okay. Now, when you fell in love with the outdoors, had you had mentors, members of the family, fathers, uncles, grandparents who took you out, whether you have siblings, took y'all out, y'all, there you go, uh, out to explore and get you in a moment of being able to appreciate that there's life beyond the pavement?
Absolutely. And I actually remember part of my interview 11 years ago for my job. I remember sharing a story when I was 5 years old, looking at the Gulf of Mexico, sitting on the back steps of a rental place with my father, who basically we saw the lightning strike in the Gulf and counted the numbers, 1.5 seconds per miles away.
Oh
So
yeah.
it was, and that's been literally a family tradition every summer. He worked in higher education, is retired at this point, but every year we go as a family to the beach. And my wife, who when we got married, she was like, "Oh, y'all really do know how to enjoy the beach, like literally to the last drip of sun setting over the Gulf of Mexico." Which again, I know for people who are listening here, if you've been down here, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's a very, very special place. And the beach, I've been to different beaches around the country, and the beaches here with the fine sand is just fantastic.